So in my game folder, I've got some character sprites. I've got my basic tiles and I've got my scenery tiles. So now I want to make a couple different things. One I'm going to make is like an obstacle. This is just going to be like a spike or something that if the character runs into it, they'll get hurt. They might lose a life or something like that. It's not going to be moving, so it's very simple. And then I'm going to make something that the character can collect. So a lot of games you might collect like coins, you might collect keys, you might collect, different types of currency or whatever. So you can think about something that would make sense for your character to be collecting. And that can be something that's just basically a marker of progress. Like if you have like a lot of points, that's good. But if you want, it could also be something like you have to collect a key to get through to the next level or something like that. You can think about different things that might be useful or might make sense in a specific game world. So let's see. I'm going to open up Pascal. And basically, we want to do something similar with our character where we just are going to have a few different, or two different animations, really. We really need, for the reward, for something that we're going to collect, we need some type of idle animation where it's just sitting there. But if it's moving or if it's doing something, it'll indicate to us that it's not part of the scenery. It's something that we can actually interact with. So we want to be able to do that, and there's different ways to do that. And then once we collect the animation, or once we collect the object, we want some animation to trigger to kind of indicate to us that we collected it. So we talked on the very first day about feedback and positive feedback. So we want to make sure that the player understands what's happening as they're playing the game. And so if there's something that they're supposed to collect, when we collect that thing, it shouldn't just disappear all of a sudden because it might not be very clear what happened. We should have some type of animation that shows the player what's going on. For the obstacle, we want to have some type of idle animation that basically says like you don't want to, interact with this thing because it's dangerous or whatever. And then we might have like an animation. We don't really need moving animations. That's for next week. I don't know why I wrote this up here. But we could have another animation for when, we get hit by it or something like that. We could show something. I don't know what that sound is, but hopefully it's okay. So I'm going to start out. I'm going to make sure I've got the right size. So 32 by 32 is fine. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as an item. And so for my player to collect, I'm just going to make like an apple. So I'll call this an apple. Click save. And I'll put this in my originals. So I'll save that here. And I'm going to make like a little outline shape like I usually do for how big I want the apple to be. And then I'll go to new frame and turn on the onion skin. And I'll get my pen. And I'm just going to choose like a red color for the apple. And I'm going to make my pen a little bit smaller. And I'll just draw a little apple. I'll do like a little dent at the top and the bottom. Nothing too crazy. And then I'll fill that in. And let's see, maybe I'll choose a different color for like a stem. Something like that. And so then that looks pretty decent as far as an apple. I might like center this. And then I want to do something just to show that, you can pick it up. So there's a lot of different ways I could do that. I'm going to delete this first frame, and I'm just going to duplicate this a couple of times. And sometimes you could make the apple like, rotate around. You can even just do something really simple. Like if I just take each one of these frames, for some reason I can't select the frame very easily with the pen, and like move it up and down like that. Like, something simple like that would be enough. You could also do some like different highlighting maybe what I'll do is move the stem around so it looks like it's like wiggling around a little bit. That'll be really easy, actually. So I'll turn on the onion skin again, and so I'll just make the stem move around. So it doesn't have to be like super complicated. That looks kind of weird. The last one is not very good. Let's go like that. No, that still looks weird. Let's do like that. Or maybe like that. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. That doesn't look that good, but you get the idea. It's just like moving. It's not like super distracting, but it just tells us that, you know, this is something I can interact with. I could add some like different shading. Like I always like to use the lighten tool. Maybe I'll do like some stripes along the apple, and maybe I'll vary those a little bit. So that also looks kind of weird, but you get the idea. I just wanted to make, you know, make it clear that it's doing something. Maybe you could like draw some like little like dots around the outside or something like that, although I'd probably want them to be red. In the classic thing, like in Mario, where the coin is just like spinning around, you know, and you have like the lights changing a little bit. Something like that is pretty easy to do. So then with my apple, when the player gets the apple, what I want to do is make it disappear. And there's different ways you could do that. You could make it like fade out. You could make it, I'm just going to duplicate the first frame and drag it down here. And I'll just erase this stuff real quick. Since this is an apple, I'm just going to make it look like the player is taking a bite out of it. So I'm going to make the eraser a little bit bigger, take like a chunk out of it right here, and then just duplicate that, take another chunk out. So I'm really not spending a lot of time on this. It's very simple, but I'm making something that'll be kind of recognizable. And then I don't need a blank frame at the end because, of course, once the animation is over, I'll just take it out of the screen, so we don't really need to make it blank. So when we connect our apple to our player, we'll have a script that essentially plays this second animation and then removes the apple from the scene. And then we can also connect that script to other scripts that will like count how many apples we have and things like that. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to export a sprite sheet. So I'll click export here, and then there's my sprite sheet. That looks fine. I want the scale to be 1. So then I'm going to export this. So I want to go to my game, go to sprites, and I'll say item is apple. So I'll save that. I'm going to do one more real quick. So I want my player to be able to collect lives as they're playing. So I'm going to make like a life sprite. So I'll just do like a little heart. So I'm going to do a little circle again. And center that. Oh, whoops. Not that one. And then I'll make a new frame. Actually, let me save this first. So I'm going to say item. This will be a life thing that the player can pick up. So I could do red again, but my apple is already red. So why don't we do a different color? We'll do like pink. And I'll just draw a little heart, really simple, and I can fill this in. And then, again, I want to make it do something so my player knows that the player can, like, get this. So I'm just going to draw, like, a little wiggly animation. So instead of making a copy, I'll just try drawing it again. So it'll be, like, a little bit different. And so that'll just make it look like, you know, so I'm just, like, basically tracing it, but it's going to be a little bit different. So the player will know this is, whoops, something they can pick up. And then maybe I'll add some dots around it again, just to keep my style consistent. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. Just want to make it clear that this is something the player can interact with to delete that original frame. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now if the player collects the heart, you know, we can come up with different ways to show that the heart is being collected, I'm just gonna save this frame, and maybe I'll just erase like some sections of it. So if I erase across like that, maybe, then duplicate this, and then just erase like that. I don't know why I'm doing this, just occurred to me. So this is just like a little wipe, sort of. Let's do a little bit more here. Oh, I forgot. So I want to duplicate this so I don't have to redraw it. Okay, and that'll be the last frame. That's plenty. So the player will get it and it'll disappear, and that's all we need for that. Okay, so I'm going to save that into my originals folder. So I just hit Command S and save this, and then I'm going to export my sprite sheet. So I just click on export again, make sure I'm on PNG, click download, go to sprites, and then again I put item at the front of this just so they'll be next to each other. So my item apple and my item life will be next to each other. You could use reward there too. It doesn't have to be item, but that's an easy way to do it. Okay, then for my obstacle, I'm just gonna do this real quick. So for my obstacle, since I have like some flowers in the scenery, maybe I'll make something that kind of looks like a flower but is like spiky, like a little like a spiky flower, I guess. So let's get like a brown color for the stem, and I'll do something like that, and then I'll draw some spikes on it. Maybe I want to make the spikes black, so I'll draw a couple spikes, and then I'll make the flower. So I'll get like a purple color and do like a little flower. So hopefully the player will see that, you know, it has spikes on it. Maybe I could like put some blood on it or something to make it really clear that it's dangerous. I could also, you know, draw some stuff around the spikes. Maybe I'll do like, I'm gonna duplicate this a couple times. So this isn't gonna be moving around, but maybe I'll put some like little blood like dots around it. This is a little silly, but I'm just doing something to make it look a little scary. And of course I could make multiple different ones of these if I wanted to, but I'm just gonna do something like that. That's pretty straightforward. It looks a little silly, but that's okay. I just want it to be clear. This one dot is like moving straight across. I don't want that. Let's put it down here. Okay. So it looks a little goofy, but at least the player will be alerted to like, oh, this is something I need to pay attention to. Of course, that's something you can play with. Like some games will have stuff that's hard to see that is still dangerous. That's something that you could play with a little bit. So that'll be like the main idle animation. Let's actually go ahead and save this as obstacle flower. And then if we want the obstacle to react to the player, we could add another animation. So I'm just gonna duplicate this frame, and maybe I'll just like draw some more like blood on the spikes or something like that. And I can just like draw these going down. This is getting a little bit sort of morbid, but that's okay. So if the player hits that, we'll show that and then go back to normal. Okay, so anyway, basically you can see it's pretty much the same process for each one. I'm just creating a very simple idle animation that I can loop, and then it's very simple sort of like reaction animation for when the player interacts with the thing. In a couple weeks, we'll also learn how to add sound effects, so that'll kind of like bring that all together. So when the player runs into something, we'll see a change, we'll hear a change, and then we may also see something reflected in the UI when we add that a little bit later in the semester. So I'm gonna save this, I'm gonna export my obstacle flower, and I can, again, I put obstacle at the beginning here, so when I add other obstacles, they'll all be next to each other. So when I save this, I'm almost done. I'm just gonna check here that my sprite sheet looks okay. There's my apple, there's my heart life thing, and here's my flower. So that looks pretty good. We'll add that into the game on Thursday, and then we'll do some documentation on the Open Lab as well. But for today, I'm just going to stop there.